She would do it in spirit because she could come and take her whenever she wanted to, and she could be as an involved parent as she wished. So she was really doing a good thing because you were at a stress time. But right now your daughter has an attachment to her, and it's not the right thing for her not to see her. It's not the right thing.
I understand that.
Okay.
It was just the fact that I didn't like the procedures. After I told her no, she went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. If she didn't go, they was not only just helping her go to daycare, that was helping my other two kids. When they take one out, that means the other two come out. That means I have to stop working. I got to depend on other people. I explained that to her. I had to go to legal aid, get lawyers and things.
Okay.
I mean, I understand what she's doing. I have no problem with her seeing Diamond. Diamond loves her to death, but I just did not like the fact that she did not ask me for $90. I paid $191. So giving her $90 ain't no big thing to me. But why should I give it to her when she worked the same time I do?
You have no problem with Diamond spending some time with Miss Wilson
during the day, not overnight.
Okay?
Okay, that's fine. Great.
All right. Now, are you going to be able to work out informally Diamond spending, say, the weekends at Miss Wilson's house?
The weekends. Her biological grandmother has her for the weekends, on the weekends, because they don't have no bond since her father's been dead.
So you mean just recently she's been spending time with her biological grandmother?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
Judge, she don't know her biological grandmother.
That's why she's spending time with her grandmother.
Okay.
Because her father and his mother never got along. She's going through a thing herself. She's not going to live too long. And I feel my commitment to her is to let her at least bond with her biological. I don't have a problem with her seeing her. She knows her she knows her biological grandmother. She took her down to her biological grandmother's house to visit her.
Miss Pierce, I have a sense that you are struggling, doing well, but struggling with these three kids. Because if Diamond's biological grandmother didn't bond with her because she didn't see her for 2 years, and now Diamond is not with Miss Wilson on the weekends, so you really needed somebody else to fill in. So you're getting, so the biological grandmother is a very good vehicle to fill in. That's not right for Diamond.
No, that's not the way it was.
That's not right for Diamond. Well, that's pretty much what you said. She said she hasn't bonded with her biological grandmother, so now she's doing it.
Because of her father.
Well, how long is her father dead?
He's been dead for 2 years.
He's been dead for 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the last 2 years, she hasn't been seeing Diamond every weekend.
No, she's been seeing Diamond off and on. Ms. Wilson set it up to her.
Off and on.
Yes, ma'am.
Not every weekend.
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So you make arrangements with Miss Wilson. Do it. Because I have a sense that if she believes that Diamond is being well taken care of.
I don't, Judge.
Well, if you don't, then you have to do something, Miss Wilson.
Okay.
If you don't, then I've told you what you have to do.
Okay, I'll do that.
If you think that this child is being shifted around from place to place because Miss Pierce is really overwhelmed, you have a responsibility to this child. And your responsibility is to proceed for the first time, at least, in a legal, formal way.
Okay.
You have to do that. But as far as this case is concerned, you did not have a formal arrangement with her for support for Diamond. So you're going to be unsuccessful. She didn't have any money anyway. The problem is, if you're going to proceed in a legal fashion by going to court, there is going to be a battle. Maybe, maybe not. If you are not going to proceed in a formal legal way, but want to continue to see her when her mother says that you can, then you have to maintain a good relationship with her. Okay. You understand?
Yes, I
You have any
understand.
questions at all?
Yeah. No, I don't.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Good. Good luck.
Now, this is case number 233 on the calendar in the matter of Vos versus Ray, Whitfield, McCormack, and Powell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Powell? Me. Stand over there. Who's McCormack?
Right here.
Ray. You may stay. Whitfield.
Me.
It was your truck.
Yeah. Yes.
You didn't see what happened to it. You just saw the aftermath.
Yes.
And you didn't witness what happened to it, Mrs. Voss. Is that correct?
That's correct. I only heard it.
It is your claim, however, that these 4 young people, while in a state of drunken intoxication, decided to use your son's truck for baseball practice, whatever, totally destroying it. There was one other person allegedly involved. who, according to your complaint, has in fact made some restitution to you for the damage.
That's
Is that right?
correct.
How much did you receive from this Russell person?
$240.
And what was the full extent of the damage to the truck?
$1,199.45.
Okay, so let's start out. You are in your home, it's the 24th of April, it's in the evening,
Correct.
and what did you hear?
I was sleeping and I was awakened to a bunch of just noise. At the time, I thought it was garbage cans or street signs, people banging on it. Got up, went into the kitchen, and kind of went outside on the front porch. At that time, I saw some children. It was dark. I couldn't identify them. Further down the street at what I thought was knocking over a garbage can. I saw 3 children at that time pass by, 2 on one bicycle and 1 running behind.
When you say children, you mean little children?
No, I'm sorry. Teenage children.
Male or female?
I could not identify them.
Go ahead.
I went out to retrieve the garbage can. When I got to the bottom of the steps, that's when I heard somebody yell to kick the truck. So knowing my son's truck was parked down the street, I went into the street. And it's that time I saw my son's truck out of the assigned parking spot, actually pushed out and turned in the street so that I can see it at the end of the road. And there was just banging on it. I couldn't tell how many were around it because it was sideways in front of me. I don't know who was behind it, but I could hear that same noise that woke me up. So I yelled at them to get away from the truck, and they fled.
How many people did you see fleeing?
The light, it was dark. I really, honestly could not tell you.
Was it more than one?
Yes, and probably more than 2. I can honestly say more than 2.
Did you go down to inspect the truck?
At that point, I yelled for them to get away as I was running towards the truck, and then I went back to call the sheriff.
So you didn't go to the truck, you didn't go anywhere near there?
No, it was dark.
That's smart. And you waited for the sheriff in your home?
At that point, I woke my husband up. He went down to the truck, and we waited for the sheriff at the time.
And you went with him?
Yes.
What did you see when you got down there?
Just the truck in the middle of the road with the window broken. At that point, it was dark. It was hard to see how much body damage was done.
What time of the evening was this?
It was after midnight. I believe it was approximately midnight when I called the sheriff. My son came home. He was not home at the time. He arrived when the sheriff arrived. And then he called some of his friends to let them know what happened to the truck, and they all kind of slowly came over in groups. And they also started walking around the complex to see if they can find any types of signs of who possibly could have done the damage.
What makes you believe it was any of these 4 people involved?
My son came across 2 of the defendants.
Which 2?
It was Russell and Tacey and Ed.
So you came across Russell, Miss Ray, and Mr. Powell.
Yes.
No,
And what?
right here.
You're McCormick?
Yes.
Change places with him. Stop confusing me. And what happened when you came across these 2 and Russell?
I told my mom that they're here, that they're around my truck, they're around our house, so my mom called the cops.
What do you mean they were around your truck?
They were, no, not around the truck, but with us. They hung out with us for a while, and we kept them there until the cops came,
What made you think that they had anything to do with your truck?
because they were telling us that they bashed in some truck.
They were telling who?
Me and my friends that they were drunk, and the cops were out looking for them.
Who said that they had bashed in a truck?
Tacey.
Miss Ray. You heard Miss Ray say they were drunk and they had bashed in a truck?
Not me, my friends told me.
You can't tell me what your friends told you.
No.
So you waited until the police arrived? You called the police?
Mm-hmm.
Were you there when the police came?
Yeah, but then
What happened when the police came?
they told me to go inside, and then they handled it.
Did you speak to the police, Miss Ray?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell them?
I said that we were all drunk, me, Russell, and Edward, and I said that Russell had messed up the truck.
So you put it all on Russell.
Yeah.
Was Russell there?
Yes, he was, but he did not harm the truck.
Did you just tell me you told the police that Russell messed up the truck?
Yes.
So you lied to the police.
Yes, I did.
Why did you lie to the police?
Because I was drunk and they were hammering me with all these questions and they wouldn't let me say I don't know. They had to give names or else they wouldn't have let me go on. And so that was the first name that came to mind because I looked over at him and I said Russell. Because it was the easiest way to get me out of the situation.
What were you all doing out there drunk?
It was just a Friday night and
Friday night drunk. I never put that down on my calendar. Now, Miss Ray, We do know about this truck, however.
Yeah.
Right. You were there when this truck was pushed out into the street, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Are you telling me that you did not see this truck pushed out into the street and damage caused to the truck?
We were not there at that time.
You were not there. So you just told the police a big fat lie.
Yes, I did.
Now, when you told the police a big lie, did you tell them just the way you're telling me now?
Yes, I did.
In the same directness?
Yes.
Were you still intoxicated at that time?
Yes, I was.
What had you had to drink that night?
I had a beer and some shots of 50-50, I think.
And when did you stop drinking?
I couldn't tell you. I don't really remember.
Where did you have shots of 50-50?
At this old abandoned house down the road.
How old are you?
14.
How many people were at this old abandoned house?
It was all of us in Russell.
Is that the first Friday night that you had gone to that house?
Yes, it has.
When you say yes, it was, are you saying that with the same conviction and with the same straight face as you told the police that it was Russell that had caused the damage?
Yeah.
No, that was the first
I'm not. Do I look at you? Are you saying it with the same conviction?
Conviction.
With the same honesty?
Oh, no.
So when you told the police, you had a dishonest look on your face?
Yes.
As if you were telling them a lie?
Yes. As if
All
I
right,
were
just a second. I'm not finished with you yet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who brought the booze?
I don't know.
Don't really remember. It was just chill.
Nobody remembers. Don't ever think you can get over on me. Ever. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Chris Walsh and his mother, Michelle Vose, say teenagers Tacey Ray, Dan Whitfield, Zach McCormick, and Edward Powell vandalized his truck. The teens say they didn't do it.
So based upon your lie to the police that you indicate to me, Miss Ray, you were drunk and you had the look on your face of someone who was making up a story, right?
Yes.
The police took Russell into custody.
Yes.
Now, when you saw that they were taking Russell into custody, did you see them put Russell in handcuffs?
Ew. Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Did you see him being placed in a patrol car?
Yes, I did.
Was he placed in the front seat or the rear seat?
The rear.
Was there another police officer with him in the rear seat?
No, there wasn't.
How many police officers were in the front seat?
There was none. They were still out questioning us.
When they concluded questioning, how many police officers got into the police car?
I'm pretty sure one of them did.
And the other one stayed out, still
Yes,
talking
they
to
were.
you?
They were bringing me and Ed. They were taking care of us.
What do you mean they were taking care of you?
Because they caught us being drunk in public.
Oh. Now, I must tell you, Miss Ray, you tell a very cogent story. Your memory seems to be very, very precise with every detail about something that happened 6 months ago for somebody who was really terribly intoxicated that night. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Good. Now, Russell was in fact arrested on this charge. Is that correct?
I couldn't tell you if he was arrested.
Well, let's try, because Russell must have contacted you at some time after Russell sobered up and said to you, why did you put the blame on me for something that I had nothing to do with?
Yes, he did. He called me.
Of course he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Did you say to him, what happened, Russell?
Yeah.
Did he tell you he was arrested?
Yes.
Did he tell you he was charged with vandalism?
Well, a month ago, when they first gave us the charges, we all knew.
Did Russell plead guilty to vandalism?
Yes, he did.
Interesting. Now, I assume Russell was sober at the time that he pled guilty to vandalism. Judges usually do not accept guilty pleas from intoxicated defendants. So you mean you made up this story about Russell?
And
since
everyone
you were,
else.
just a second. I'm not finished with you yet, Miss Ray. So you made up the story out of whole cloth about Russell, that he was the one who damaged the truck. And Russell decided to plead guilty to damaging the truck, even though it wasn't him. That's what you said. Russell didn't do anything, but I just looked over to him, and he was there. I saw him, and I decided to say it was Russell. That's what you told me a minute ago. So now Russell decides to go along with your fictitious story, plead guilty to vandalism, and pay restitution. Is that where we're at? You understand what I'm saying to you? Good! Don't ever think you can get over on me. Ever. Now we're going to start all over again. Now we're going to start with Mr. Powell. What grade are you in school?
I graduated last year.
Mr. McCormick,
Yes.
how old are you?
18.
Who bought the 50-50 junk? I need an answer. There were only the four of you and old Russell. Who brought the booze?
Tell you the truth, Honor. The
Don't listen
alcohol-
to me. Don't start out by saying to me, I'll tell you the truth. Give me an answer. Who brought the booze?
I don't know.
Let's go back to Miss Ray. Was Mr. Powell with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
Was Mr. McCormick with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
Was Mr. Whitfield with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
Was Russell with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
You were all together?
Yes.
What time did you arrive at the old abandoned house?
About 4 p.m.
I didn't ask you a thing. What time did you arrive at the old abandoned house?
4:30.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
From 4:30 in the afternoon until 11:30 that evening, did you remain in the house?
Yes.
And while you were there, did you consume anything other than the alcohol?
We had some marijuana.
So the five of you were together in the house for approximately 6 hours consuming alcohol and marijuana. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there came a time when you left.
Yes.
Who left first?
Zach McCormick, Ed Powell, and Dan Whitfield.
Where did they go?
They went to a friend's house.
What time did they return?
I couldn't tell you, somewhere around dark.
It was dark then. It was midnight.
Well, then I guess midnight after the truck had already been pulling out and everything.
After the truck. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So that left you, Miss Ray, and old Mr. Russell at the house, right? Now, did you stay at the house?
No, we did not.
Where did you go?
We went back to my house.
But there did come a point where at some period of time around midnight that you all hooked up again.
Yes.
And you all hooked up again somewhere around where this truck was.
Yes.
And that's when you told the police that it was old Russell who did damage to the truck.
Yes.
Because you just wanted to get him off your back. Is that right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You having a good time?
I am.
Okay.
Aren't you?
I'm having a good time.
I eat morons like you up for breakfast. Stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tacey Ray, Dan Whitfield, Zach McCormick, and Edward Powell deny the charge of vandalizing Chris Walsh's truck. Chris has brought a surprise witness who says they did it.
Now, Mr. Powell,
Yes.
if I were to ask you the same questions that I asked Miss Ray, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick, if I were to ask you same questions, would your answers be the same as Miss Ray's?
Similar.
In what respect dissimilar, sir?
Everything's the same except the part where she says that, actually, it's been quite a while. It's almost been 7 months, Your Honor.
So just say, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's
Good.
not the same.
Then just say nothing else. Now, Mr. Whitfield, if I were to ask you the same questions as I posed to Miss Ray, would your answers be similar or dissimilar?
Similar, yeah, except the weed part.
Except the what?
Except the marijuana.
You denied that there was any marijuana smoked in the old house.
I don't deny that. I'm just saying that that wasn't a part of my routine.
Your routine was only drinking.
I was just there drinking, having fun.
So you did not partake in the marijuana.
No.
But there was marijuana there.
Yeah.
Who brought it?
Don't really remember. It was just chilling.
Nobody remembers. Nobody remembers how the marijuana got there, and nobody remembers how the booze got there. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, you are telling me the truth, are you not, Mr. Whitfield, that you do not remember who brought the marijuana?
Yes.
Is that as truthful, sir, as all the other statements that you made today?
Yes.
Now, Miss Ray, do you recall who brought the marijuana?
Yes, I did.
Honest. Now, Mr. McCormick, do you recall who brought the alcohol?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Is that answer as honest as all the other answers you've given me today?
Yes, it is.
This was so easy.
You having a good time?
I am.
Okay.
Aren't you?
I'm having a good time.
You should have read the answers that they wrote. Mr. Powell,
Yes.
do you recall who brought the alcohol?
No, I don't.
Is that answer as honest as all the other answers you gave me today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I also have another witness that actually spoke. That was one of my son's friends that was there when they confessed that they did
Oh,
that.
I would love to hear that witness. It would make me feel only slightly better. Would you bring in a witness? Name? Would
And
you give him the name?
I'm Christy Gashel.
Christy Gashel.
I understand that you have information regarding an incident that occurred on the 24th of April of this year involving damage to the Voss truck.
Yes.
What information do you have?
I was at my friend David's house when he got a call from Chris, and Chris told David that someone just beat in his truck. So me, David, and my friend Jennifer went over to Chris's house, and we walked around and we were looking for the people that did it. And Tacey Ray came over. She jumped out of the bushes and told me that she and her friends just beat in a truck. And my friend Jennifer went and told Michelle that we have some people. So.
Did you have any other conversation with Miss Ray other than the fact that she says that she and some of her friends beat in the truck?
No, and she told me that if the cops asked, she was with me the whole night.
So she asked you to be her alibi?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Listen, you four people made my job so easy. I haven't had that good a time cross-examination in about 4 years. I read your answers. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I was someplace else. I was in Canada. I was on the Mir space station. I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with it. Nothing, 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 nothing. The damage to your truck, the difference is $959. Maybe the four of you have parents who you think are stupid. And maybe some of you have been before the criminal justice system previously and have found other members of the criminal justice system stupid. I eat morons like you up for breakfast. Judgment is entered for the plaintiff to be divided by 4. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. 33-year-old carpenter Douglas Joseph for shooting at him with a nail gun and body slamming him.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 471 on the calendar in the matter of Livingston versus Joseph. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Livingston, you are a plumber by trade. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Joseph, you are a carpenter by trade.
That's correct.
According to your complaint, Mr. Livingston, the two of you didn't get along very well. But there came a time when you claimed that Mr. Joseph assaulted you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And on what date did this incident occur?
February 11th of 2000.
When had the difficulty between the two of you started?
The difficulty started prior to that job on another job.
So you knew him from before this job?
Correct.
So when you found yourselves working together on this project, that wasn't a happy time?
No.
Now tell me what happened on February 11th.
February 11th, I arrived on a job site approximately 10 after 8. When I walked in, I was confronted by him saying that I had left the driveway open for you, but I guess you're going to wear the skirt today. And I ignored it, turned around.
What does that mean? I guess you're going to wear the skirt.
It just that I'm a wimp or a wuss. And approximately 10:30, I heard from the other side of the shear wall, was about 17 feet away.
What's a shear wall?
A shear wall is a wall between another room and it's half-inch plywood. He was up on the top of the railing and he was shooting down at me with a nail gun. And I have, Your Honor, the evidence of what a nail gun looks like. This is the type of nail gun that could maim or kill me.
Is that the nail gun that of a similar type that he was using on
Correct.
that day? Okay, go ahead.
And as that shot at the wall, a rack of these nails can be shot off in about 7 seconds. I had then come around the wall. He was standing there with an evil grin on his face, looking down at me. I called him very obscenity names, and I said, "Why did you shoot that nail gun at me?" Then he says, "I'm going to come down there and kick your..." He come all the way down the ladder, threw his belt off his waist, first nail gun, and come down the ladder, got into my face, and then I backed up and I turned around, and when I turned around, he had grabbed me from the backside and went against the stud wall, and that's when the wall had hit the side of my ribs.
And you have photographs of your
Yes,
injuries?
I do.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, I can't see anything around your midsection, sir, because you have a girdle on.
That's for the broken rib. That's a pressure bandage.
All right. Do you have a hospital report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
If Your Honor, if I may call my wife, if we could, for all the pain and suffering and...
Not necessary, sir. Just show me the hospital report.
It's right there. Give her the whole packet.
Them are all the correspondence with the hospital.
Now we'll hear your version of the event, sir.
Well, it started actually in '99, probably about a month beforehand, and one of my carpenters nailed through that shear panel and hit his pipe, and he didn't mean to hit his pipe, but when he found out that he hit his pipe...
I heard about that. That's when all the bad blood started between the two of you.
Yeah,
Let's get to February 11th.
Very, very irate. And
Let's get to February 11th, sir.
Okay, a day before that, he pulled up to the job site and wanted more access to the driveway, and we were all up in scaffold in the air, 30, 40 feet in the air, and it wasn't possible for us to come down. He became irate and red-faced at that time, took his car, slammed it in reverse, and backed up, missing my vehicle by inches. This is from other people like Matt.
All right, he missed your car. Didn't hit your car. Missed your car.
He missed my car. Came in and cussing and
So
screaming.
he didn't have access to get his truck in there easily the day before, so he was angry.
He was very angry.
Okay, so now let's get to February 11th.
Okay, February 11th. He came with an attitude like he did the day before.
So he was angry.
Yes. I did shoot the nails.
I know you did. That's what you said.
Okay.
You said you shot the nails, and not only did you shoot the nails, but you said something to him when you were shooting the nails. According to you.
Yeah, I was jokingly trying to encourage him to get out of the mood he was in. When I said dance, pipe boy. And,
right, that's what you said. And that, Mr. Joseph, is what, quite frankly, pardon the pun on words, put the nail in your coffin.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. Because there had been, evidently, bad blood between the two of you. You knew he was angry. You were not trying to cajole him into a better mood. Did you think that by pointing that gun and shooting in his direction, although not at him, that you were going to make him feel better by saying, dance, pipe boy? Did you think you were going to make him feel better?
May I respond in defense? 2 weeks prior...
I want you to answer my question. Did you think that you were going to make him feel better by shooting the nails from that gun in his direction and saying, dance, pipe boy?
I honestly did, because he always is joking around with everybody on the job site.
But he wasn't joking around with you that day, sir, because you say right here in your answer, Mr. Joseph, it was evident that he was in his usual hostile mood.
I was trying to change his mood.
By shooting?
Yes.
By shooting those things in his
for
direction?
joking around with him. May I defend myself? Because 2 weeks prior to this, I was building a water heater platform, and I was having trouble reaching a nail, so I handed him my nail gun, and he took the nail gun and pointed it at his coworker's head. Matt Taylor was my witness to this.
Yes.
And he pointed up to his head, so if he's saying that it is so deadly of a weapon, why is he pointing at this gun that was live to the head of someone? When I shoot a nail gun during the day, people walk behind the walls all the time when I hold it up close. I was 35 feet away. There was nowhere for the round to get him at all. He was in perfect safety. Actually, I thought he was in the garage. He was in perfect safety.
You couldn't have thought he was in the garage, sir, because your statement, dance pipe boy, was directed to him. He was the only pipe boy around.
I knew he was in the general vicinity, and I knew he could overhear me when I said that.
Oh, Mr. Joseph, come on. You precipitated this altercation. You started this altercation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Livingston says co-worker Douglas Joseph body slammed him. Douglas says he was only playing.
So now you've shot this nail gun in his general direction, although not according to you, with him, and words are exchanged. You're up on the second floor, correct?
That's correct.
He's on the first floor. Did he come up to the second floor where you were at?
No, ma'am.
No, the answer is no. Did you exit the second floor and come down to the first floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because he was calling me down. He was calling me down with profanity and telling me he was going to kick my ass.
So that seems like a perfect time for me to stay where I am. Somebody is threatening you. Somebody, I mean, I see the way you look. I see. How old are you?
I'm 33 years old.
How old are you?
38.
Okay. How much do you weigh?
162 pounds.
How much do you weigh?
250 pounds.
So it seems to me you don't have much of a risk from him coming up to you and beating you with his plunger, right?
Right.
So you come down from the second floor because he was calling you names. And what happened when you came downstairs, Mr. Joseph?
We did stand toe-to-toe, and he was blurting out vulgar language at the whole time. And I said, "You're not worth going to jail for." I turned and walked away, turned my cheek and walked the other way. And he blurts out, I can't even say it on TV, or he's bleeping things. But I became angry at that point when I turned and I went to push him. And as I pushed him, I tripped and fell on this hardware that he was mumbling about. And he jumped on my back and started choking me. And so
you went to push him.
I went to push him,
and
but I fell.
No, you went to push him. That's not what you said. You said you went to push him, and as I did, I fell.
Right.
Then you're down on the ground, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You're down, flat down on the ground.
I'm down on my knees and my hands.
And what happened?
He jumped my back and started choking my neck. I couldn't breathe.
Yes.
So then I feared for my life. I grabbed his sweatshirt, and I couldn't breathe, so I tried to wreck myself, and I pushed us back into the wall. And at that point, I gained control. And I put him in head and arm and around his body, and that's it. No punches were done.
Well, he was injured, sir. He had a fractured rib.
Yeah. Dewey, the electrician, told me he was loading his four-wheeler and broke his rib doing that. He told me.
Don't tell. I'm not interested in what somebody else told you, sir. That's hearsay. That's hearsay. Now, he went to the hospital on the 11th. What's 16:45 hours?
That's 4:45 in the afternoon.
May I introduce Matt Taylor? He's my witness.
I saw the argument in the morning.
You saw it from the beginning, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, I did. I saw him.
Where was Mr. Joseph?
He was upstairs with me, second floor.
And did you see him with a gun similar to that in his hand?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any conversation with him, Mr. Taylor, prior to him pointing the gun downward and shooting off a round?
No.
He didn't say to you, look what I'm going to do, or I'm just fooling around?
No.
How many rounds did he fire off?
3?
When he fired off those rounds, did you see the plaintiff?
No, I didn't. He was behind the shear wall.
Did you ask Mr. Joseph what he was doing?
No.
Well, wouldn't that seem like a logical thing to ask?
Well, I knew that I knew Mr. Livingston wasn't in any danger from
That's not what I asked you. You saw the defendant shooting off rounds of that gun in a way that was not meant to do any business that you were there to do, right?
Right.
Well, what did you think he was doing, sir?
I thought he was messing around.
Messing around with what?
A nail gun.
Messing around how? Just look at me, sir. Messing around how?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, I didn't know what he was doing. He was shooting off the nail gun. I knew he was messing around with the plumber.
Okay, so you know he was messing around with the plumber with the nail gun.
Yes. Yes, sir.
There we go. So after he shot off 3 rounds with the nail gun, what did you hear him say?
I heard him say, "Dance, pipe boy."
Now, you were on the second floor. Do you see how quietly you said that to me, "Dance, pipe boy"? I want you to use your voice, Mr. Taylor, and in a voice that replicates how Mr. Joseph communicated "Dance, pipe boy" to the plaintiff. I want you to tell me how that sounded from the second floor. Let's hear it, Mr. Taylor.
He said, "Dance, pipe boy."
You want me to put you up on the second floor and see if I could hear that? With all the other noise that's going on in a house that's being renovated? You want to try that one more time?
He said, "Dance, pipe boy."
That sounds more like it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You came downstairs and took off your belt to fight.
Negative.
Oh, yes, you started it. And whatever happened after that, you deserved it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Livingston says coworker Douglas Joseph body slammed him. Douglas says he was only playing.
And when he said dance pipe boy, see how you laughed and you smiled when you said that to me? Did you smile?
No, I didn't.
You didn't smile. Did you laugh?
No.
Was he laughing?
No.
Wasn't?
No.
And then what did you see, sir?
I saw Mr. Livingston come out from around the corner, and for a while he was taunting Doug, you know, lots
Cursing
of verbal
at him.
abuse, cursing at him.
Cursing at him.
And then I saw Doug he went downstairs.
Did he go downstairs by ladder?
Yes.
And did he put down the gun before he started to descend the ladder?
Yes.
And what about his tool belt?
He took that off. He took that off when he got down there.
Did he take that off as soon as he got down from the ladder?
No.
So he was wearing it.
Yes.
And when did he take off his tool belt?
The second time he went down, when...
Second time?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the first time he went down.
The first time he went down was after Mr. Livingston started calling him a bunch of names. He went down, he said that it wasn't worth it, came back up, and then Mr. Livingston started yelling at him some more, and he went back down, and then he took off his tool belt.
May I respond in defense to myself? He was saying that I knew you weren't going to do anything about it. Like, he wanted to fight, and I didn't want to fight. I tried to walk away from it the whole time.
You could have?
I could have.
Oh, you could have, Mr. Joseph. All you had to do was not come downstairs the second time and take off your belt.
How much verbal abuse can someone take?
Do you hear that?
Yeah, I just...
Do you hear that?
When it goes on for months, they've had 5 complaints about him with other trades and everything, about how vulgar his language is and how...
That's why, Mr. Joseph, I don't believe you when you say to me that you shot the gun at him in an attempt to change his mood from foul to fair. I don't believe you. What I think you wanted to do was just give him a good one. And you not only shot this gun at him, which could place him at risk, because let's say it happened that one of those nails hit another nail, hit a pipe, ricocheted, caused some damage. You would have been very sorry that that happened. You would have said it was an accident. I didn't mean to hurt him. But bottom line was, you started it. And whatever happened after that, whatever foul language he was using, whatever names he was calling you or your mother, whatever he was doing, you deserved it. So you didn't come down once, so you didn't tell me that. You actually went upstairs without taking off your belt. According to this gentleman, you came downstairs and took off your belt to fight.
Negative.
Oh, yes, you did. You took off your belt in order to fight, because otherwise there is absolutely no reason for you to take off your belt. You didn't do it the first time.
I believe I did do it the first time, actually.
Not according to your witness. According to your witness, he said you went up the first time, right? With the belt. Came back upstairs with the belt. Didn't take the belt off until he came down a second time, right?
Right.
You've been most helpful. Sit down. So, Mr. Joseph, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I'm sure that that's something that you heard at your mother's knee at some time during your life, and it's too bad that you didn't follow through. You started this incident on this job site. You started it. You started it by behaving irresponsibly with a very serious piece of equipment. And I'm not saying that Mr. Livingston, by responding and calling you names and cursing at you, was a gentleman. But boy, if somebody did that to me, let's just say this. Are you married?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your children?
They're 10, 11, 12, 13.
Let's say a 15-year-old boy doesn't like your 10-year-old and has one of those dart guns and takes out one of those dart guns and starts shooting it in your son's direction.
May I defend your leading?
No, I want to ask you that question.
Actually, an incident happened to my son just the other day where he was beat up by 3 of the neighbor boys, and I walked over to the neighbor after just relaxing about it and talking to her, and said, I know that boys will do things. And he had a hurt rib and a
you went
bloody
over
nose.
And you went over and said, I know that boys will do things.
Yeah,
Really?
They beat him up, and he was in tears, and everyone, you know, and I responded like, you know, I was in fear of my son, but an hour later I realized that he might have done something to begin with to do something, and then they might have taunted him or something like that, you know.
Really?
And I think they were both
You are such a good person. Somebody did that to one of my kids, boy, even joking around. I wouldn't like that, would you?
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I admit that I was angry at first, but I waited an hour and a half.
Well, you calmed down.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you should have done.
Yes, ma'am.
So you got to pay for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We tried to get him prosecuted, and they wouldn't prosecute him, and he was in such pain. We went through
Tag for impound fees and loss of wages resulting from false hit-and-run charges.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 495 on the calendar in the matter of Patterson versus Freytag. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Patterson, how long have you and the defendant been neighbors?
Approximately 4 to 5 years.
Ever had any trouble with each other? Other than this instance?
Yes, I have.
Like what kind of trouble?
Well, my dogs were poisoned, my car was hit and run, my tires have been slashed.
What does that have to do with the defendant?
Well, I feel that he filed this report maliciously against me, Your Honor, to make my life
I'm not talking about the
miserable.
report. I'm talking about prior to this report that we're talking about. Had you had any difficulty with him?
Other than incidents, no. I rarely see these people or speak with them.
So, my question is, prior to this incident,
yes,
had you had any difficulty with Mr. Freytag?
No.
According to your complaint, you hit his car.
Yes.
Which was parked.
Yes.
Deliberately.
And that happened on a Friday, the 15th
Yes.
of December. Your claim is that he filed a false report of a hit and run, as a result of which your car was impounded, you lost a catering job, you want him to pay for the impound fees and the loss of income that you had as a result of this catering job.
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's go to December 15th. At what time of the day did you hit his car?
I would say about 8:30 a.m.
What happened when you hit his car?
Well, when I start the car, I put it in gear. The van lurched forward and broke Mr. Freytag's lens covers on his car and scratched his bumper. Then Mr. Freytag came out, running out of his house, yelling at me, and I told him that I was an accident, that I was sorry, that I had insurance, that I would pay for it.
It's not true.
Just a minute. You'll have your turn. Did you give him your insurance card and information?
No, I showed it to him.
What do you mean you showed it to him?
I showed it to him. I said, I have insurance for all my vehicles. He kept yelling at me. He says, "Why? Well, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that." And I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I have to leave now." And I did it. I had a big event that evening. I will at any time work 3 to 5 parties in a weekend, so
Just try to answer my question, sir.
Okay.
You're not going to get ahead of me. Trust me.
I know.
Trust me.
I do trust you.
You're not. Just trust me that you're not going to get ahead of me. Where were you going?
I was going to the store to pick up some product.
What kind of product?
I think it was paper plates and napkins or something.
Anything else?
It was, you know, I think I needed some sugar and some dairy product and...
So where did you go after you left the store?
I went back and parked
To where? You went back to where?
A street in back of my house, 2 blocks from my house.
And why did you do that?
Because I've been having my tires slashed.
But you had had your tires slashed before and you parked in front of your house.
Well, I actually have built a driveway on the side of my house.
You mean just this day you decided when you came back not to park your car there?
It's a hassle to park in that small area that I have.
So instead you parked 2 blocks away?
This time, yes.
And you walked home with all your product?
No, I left the product in the van.
So then whatever you bought you left in the van and you went to your house?
I made some phone calls and, you know, went out in my other car to meet someone.
What time?
9:30, 10 maybe.
So you went to the store, picked up what you needed, you came back, made some phone calls, and then went out again, all in the span of a half hour?
I would say so, yes.
So then you went out again in another one of your cars?
Yes.
Now that car, I guess you weren't worried about having the tires slashed?
No. It had already been slashed.
You mean you drove a car with slashed tires?
No.
And what time did you get home that evening?
We left.
Excuse me?
When I saw my car being towed, I canceled my party and I left.
How did you see your car being towed?
Well, I saw the police in front of my house talking to Mr. Freitag.
About what time, sir?
This is about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, so you didn't leave?
I was driving by and I saw the police in front of the house talking with Mr. Freitag.
Yes.
And I didn't want to deal with the police. They've been searching my house 3-4 times a month.
Just a second. You didn't want to deal with the police at that time.
Yeah.
So I assume that you knew at that time they were talking to Mr. Freitag about the accident that had occurred that morning.
Exactly.
And you didn't want to deal with it at that time.
I don't want to deal with it.
So you left.
Exactly.
Now then you said something about seeing your car being towed. When did that happen?
My neighbor told me that my van had been towed and that the police were looking for me.
At what time did you see your neighbor?
This was in the early afternoon.
What did you do then?
I went to Santa Barbara.
Is that where the car was?
No, that's where the police weren't.
That's where the police were not?
Yes.
Okay, and why did you do that?
Because I'm afraid of the police.
Okay. Okay. When did you finally make contact with the police, Mr. Patterson?
Monday morning.
So that was 3 days later?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you do?
I went in because I called, the detectives wanted me to come in. I came in, I showed them my insurance, and they let me go.
How did you know to see this particular detective? Was there a note on your door?
How did I don't remember.
Okay. But they told you where your car was?
Yes.
And when was your catering job?
That evening, December 15th.
Well, could you explain to me, I mean, even if I bought this whole story, could you explain to me why Mr. Freitag is responsible for you losing a catering job on December 15th?
Because he had my car filed towed for no other reason than to be malicious. I mean, I've lived next door to him.
Just a second. So you had all this stuff prepared, I assume, for this party on December 15th. If you had everything ready, you go to the party and you do the party. You rent a couple of taxi cabs and you get there. Why is he responsible for that?
Because my van was towed.
I'm saying to you, sir, you have the food for the party, you got the paper plates, you got the sugar, you got the dairy, you got everything else. You want to go over to the party, and I assume that you had done all of this stuff well in advance, at least most of it, certainly done in the morning. He didn't interfere. You weren't in jail. You go to do the party. All right, Mr. Freitag, let's hear your version. He hits your car, you hear a noise. What happened?
I believe he hit my car at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I would like to elaborate on something. I believe that my car being struck deliberately is simply a symptom of a larger scope, a bigger picture. I have evidence of a running log of Bill Patterson harassing his wife, and she at this point is 7 months pregnant. Once I called the police because of it. My witness, John Kelly, has called the police based on this log about 4 times, I believe. So
Can I see the log, please?
It's this wife harassment process, and my worry and my concern for the baby that I believe has brought all of this on.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. William Patterson says neighbor Tim Freitag filed false hit-and-run charges against him. Tim denies the charges were false and says he's concerned for the welfare of William's wife.
Are you aware of the fact that he had called the police as a result of what he believed to be domestic violence in your house?
I believe that he was calling the police, yes.
Is this your wife?
Yes.
Step up. Have you been at home when the police responded to your home?
Pardon me?
Have you been at home when the police came to your home?
Yes.
Involving domestic violence in your home?
The first time, no. Just
at any time?
Yes.
How long have you been married to the plaintiff?
Tomorrow gonna be 3 years.
You have children?
1 baby, yeah.
How old is your baby?
7 months.
Does your husband yell?
Sometimes.
Does he yell loud?
He has a loud voice, yeah.
Do you ever yell at him?
Not often.
Has your husband ever put his hands on you?
No.
Never?
No.
Where do you come from?
I'm from El Salvador.
Do you have any other family here?
No.
You're alone?
Yeah.
Do you know the defendant?
Yeah.
Have you ever spoken with him?
Just one time.
When was that?
I guess I was pregnant when I talked to him. He was doing some gardening, and we live next door, and he just, I don't know, I talked to him.
You never had any problem with him, is that right? You never had any problem with Mr. Freytag?
No.
Can I say something? Mm-hmm. I do operate a catering business out of my home. I yell on the phone with my purveyors, with my fishmonger, whoever it is.
That's not what we're talking about
I understand
here.
that's not what you're talking
Mr.
about.
Patterson, that's not what we're
And
talking about
I have
here.
built fences between our properties to try and give my neighbors more privacy.
Illegal
but there's
fence.
there's no domestic violence going on, and I consider this harassment. I mean, we have had the agriculture department, the dog catcher,
Mr.
the
Patterson,
building inspector,
Mr.
every
Patterson.
possible person come and inspect us.
Mr. Patterson, we're not talking about yelling and screaming on the phone, sir, to people who are servicing your business. And when I asked you before whether or not you had had any prior dealings of a negative nature with the defendant, you said no.
Yeah.
But you just told me, sir, you were aware of the fact, or believed, that he had called the police with regard to what he believed to be domestic violence coming from your home.
I assumed that. I also assumed that he's been slashing the tires and doing all this other malicious stuff to my property.
You want to say anything else, sir?
It sounded one day and several times like his wife was in distress and he was doing the aggressive yelling.
Were you the only one at home when you heard that?
No.
Who else was at home?
John Kelly on many occasions.
Well, step up, Mr. Kelly. I'd like to hear you, sir.
Anna, my other roommate.
Well, that person's not here. Mr. Kelly,
Yes, Your Honor.
you live in the same house as the defendant?
Yes, we share the house.
Have
Along
you
with
ever
another
heard what appeared to be yelling coming from the plaintiff's home?
I would say frequently, Your Honor, if not consistently. And it was I who made the first phone call alleging domestic abuse, and I think it's ongoing.
Can you tell me what you heard the first time?
Very loud yelling, obviously directed at Gloria. We had been concerned about her ongoing, and I just got to the point where I could no longer ignore it. And by this time, she'd had the baby, and I was concerned that the kid should even be in that environment where all the yelling and screaming didn't seem to me like to be the proper place for the job. But in addition to which, I thought that ultimately it could get physical. Mr. Patterson's got a reputation in the neighborhood for being somewhat strange with his temper.
Did you ever hear the same kind of confrontations coming from the house while Miss Patterson was pregnant?
They did not seem to be as regular, and it didn't register me at the with me at the time. I started that log. We actually kept that log on the refrigerator, and I told everybody in and around the house that any time anything happened with this guy to make a note of it, because I suspected something like this was going to come up. I actually wanted to pursue a restraining order. Tim didn't. I think we need one. When I served him the summons in the case that we originally filed against him to get Tim's damages back, he came at me with a 2x4. I actually found that amusing. I wasn't too concerned, as you may have imagined.
I gather. Are you the other neighbor?
Yes.
Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
James Robinson.
How long have you lived in the neighborhood, Mr. Robinson?
8 years.
You know the plaintiff?
Yes, both.
You know his wife?
Yes.
How far away do you live from them?
I live in a condo right next to them, and my actually side of my house faces their side, and then they're on the other side.
Are you friends?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know the defendant?
Yes, friends with them too.
Have any problem with them?
None at all.
Were you the one who told Mr. Patterson that his car had been towed?
That was a guy across the street.
Your Honor, I have some information about the towing.
Yes.
It was actually I who called the police the second time. I became concerned that Mr. Patterson was probably stashing his vehicle in order to cover up evidence of the accident, because when I returned to the house, I actually saw the accident happen. What happened was I went out looking for the van. I found the van. There was clear evidence of the impact on it. I called Tim on his cell phone. He went and took pictures. I then called the police and told them that the reason that I was calling them is that we could not determine either the license or insurance information from Mr. Patterson. The officer was great. He says to me, "We'll go get it." He says, "He'll tell me or I'll take his truck." He went to the house. This is approximately 4:30 in the afternoon. Nobody responded. Police then went back to the truck, called the tow truck. By this time, it's dark, so it's fairly late in the day.
So this was at least at 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
Definitely, it was after sunset. But I was the one that initiated
Well,
the
after
call.
you'd bring catered food to a party.
I would think so.
Right. Okay. Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
ever heard any yelling coming from their house?
A few times. But again, I know Billy, and I know that he does have a loud voice, and I know it's harmless.
You don't live with them.
No.
When you heard the loud yelling, Mr. Robinson, you look like a very honest guy. I know I'm going to get honest answers from you. Was that yelling that was coming from conversation with an employee on the telephone, or was it coming from someone who was yelling at his wife?
I think it could have been a combination of both. I think, like I say, Billy's very emotional and can be very loud. I know that he wouldn't hurt her because I've confronted him on that, and I kind of...
Mr. Robinson, you know I've been around the block a little bit in this business.
Right.
When you say you've had conversations with Mr. Patterson about it, it must have bothered you a little bit.
Yeah,
That a fair statement?
Yes.
That it bothered you a little bit. That he's got a wife who comes from El Salvador who doesn't have another living soul here. You don't hear her yelling at him, do you?
No.
Just him. Mr. Patterson, you have no basis for your lawsuit, sir. Instead of following through, you took your car away and you stashed it a couple of blocks away. You saw the police were looking for you. You avoided the police. You said that yourself. You wanted not to deal with the police at all. You figured maybe the whole thing would blow over. I don't know what you thought. The
I just
defendant,
don't...
Shh, I'm speaking. You're not going to yell at me. Trust me. The defendant had an absolute right to call the police and say, he hit my car, he took off, he secreted his car along with the evidence of the accident, which was on your car, and the police had absolutely every right to go and impound your car until you came in, which you did. Not that day, but 3 days later. The fact that you, according to you, lost a catering job, that's your fault. I believe the witness for the defendant that your car was not towed until much later in the day. And if I had a responsibility of catering a party, I would have hired 2 taxi cabs, said I have all the stuff ready, I'm taking the stuff over there, and I'll deal with this car at some other time. The thing that's most distressing to me is that you lied to me with regard to whether you and the defendant had had any prior negative dealings, and it is clear to me that you did. You were aware of the fact that the defendant had, in fact, called the police with regard to what he believed was domestic violence coming from your home.
I suspected it.
You suspected it. Well, your suspicions were well-founded, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, who came here today as your witness, was sufficiently concerned with the welfare of your wife to have had a discussion with you about what he perceived to be overbearing, let's use a nice word, overbearing behavior on your part with regard to your wife. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't say violent. I said overbearing. Put your hand down, sir. I mean, is there something really relevant?
I wrote a note to him on a neighborly basis saying, your child is going to suffer from what you're doing. Why don't you get anger management? And I put it in his mailbox.
Well, there's no question in my mind that he knew that the police complaint emanated from you. I believe that you probably have an anger problem, Mr. Patterson. You had an anger problem that day. Your wife is alone here in a foreign country. She has no family here. And that is a very, very unfortunate circumstance for somebody who is the wife of somebody who has an anger problem. And you do. You have a child, you have a son.
I do not have an anger problem.
Do you have a son? I asked you.
Yes, I have a son.
Sons emulate what they see. If you do not respect their mother and demonstrate that respect on an ongoing basis, you will raise an abuser. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. Your lawsuit before me is dismissed. And, Bert, would you take Mrs. Patterson aside and ask her if she wants to have a discussion with me? I'd be more than happy to speak with her privately in the event that she wants to discuss anything with me privately or any referrals.
Roger Hall for his portion of an apartment lease and other bills. Roger is countersuing for the return of his belongings and for a permanent scar on his face.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 521 on the calendar in the matter of Valerio versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Valerio, at a time when you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, you decided to live together. You took a lease on an apartment, according to you, for a year. There was a problem with that living arrangement. The defendant was taken into custody for some act of domestic violence. You ultimately had a restraining order against him. Is that right?
That's true.
And what you want is for him to pay the remainder of the lease when he was no longer living in the apartment after the restraining order, and some other nonsensy stuff. But mostly it's the money for the lease. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
When did you move in?
September of 2000.
And how long did you actually live together?
Till December 9th of 2000.
Was it on the 9th of December that he was taken into custody?
Yes.
Who called the police?
Actually, he called the police first and hung.
दूसरे सब पागल हो गया है, कबड्डी खेलेगा।
बॉडीगार्ड
देख लो,
खेलेंगे। चले पहला कबड्डी कौन हमें जो हो। आ जाओ। हाथ मिलावे। आओ।
2 आदमी हाथ मिला।
बस एक जन का मिला लेन
जो कबड्डी जो उन लोग 2 बंदा है और ये अकेला है नन्हा। देखता हूँ कौन जीतता है।
अच्छा भाई आए ए भाई मैं जा सकता
हार गया नन्हा।
हार गया
हाँ।
यार खेले नहीं सब आज आप तो ना गए
जो आप तो ना जो
कबड्डी 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 कबड्डी
ये तो धाम ले लिया। टेक्निक मर गया।
हाँ मरला
तू मर गया रे बाबू, मर गया। हाँ।
आओ
अब तू कबड्डी जा, तुम्हारा कबड्डी है। जा 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 जल्दी जा, भग के आराम आराम से
जाओ रे दिल साल
पैर बार टूट जाएगा। आराम आराम से जियो, ठीक है बाबू।
कबड्डी कबड्डी कबड्डी
आराम आराम से रे छोड़ा, मर गया। चल हट जा, छोड़ दे, जा कबड्डी जा।
वो मर ले वो ठोस खैनी निकली गई सिला के छोड़ी छाती शेर के बच्चा हमें जौना लन बिजवा कुछ नहीं दे सकती वो ठोस के मारी आवे से देखो। हे गाइस मैं इसे मारूंगा। ये मरला अरे बिजू आर ते की मारे से वहां तो दोस्त इस बार मैं मर के आऊंगा या तो से मार के आऊंगा।
ठीक है जा बाबू जा।
बरका दूर ना चलो ना उड़ाई थी आगू ना जाना बस आगू ना जाना
वीडियो कैन